The next video that comes out is going to be about some good points that John Malin made about the importance of claiming Comicsgate. He was on a live stream and he made these points, and then he quickly moved on from it because they just got distracted by another topic and they never came back to it. But he did raise some very interesting points about the importance of sticking together, and I thought was need to be expanded. And I've actually, War Campaign made some interesting points about the idea of Comicsgate only and the importance of that. So I wanted to touch on that. Whenever I take a view of like a nuanced approach to the things, just the sub count just drops instantly. Click the links to support the channel. You send me art, comics, or suggest a video. Yeah, if you suggest a video, I'll do it, because so far the videos that people have suggested have been really good ideas. Doug TeNapel is like sub-kryptonite. I mentioned defending him and people started unsubbing. Thanks, Doug. In case you're unfamiliar with the Mary Sue, it is a bunch of humorless women whose future involves a lot of cat food and vibrators. Imagine Trump derangement syndrome and PMS, and you've got the Mary Sue. They aren't allowed to laugh before they check with the Minister of Approved Jokes to see if it's allowed. 10 years ago, a comedy came out. It made fun of what filthy, degenerate whores actors are, how they are completely without any morals. It's a movie that laughed at mental illness, drug addiction, Hollywood, and the audience who accepts being spoon-fed such crap. But Miss Weeks at the Mary Sue has a problem with Robert Downey Jr.'s role 10 years later. Now, here's the funny thing. When she saw the movie in 2012, she thought it was funny. Now, after years of indoctrination from her Marxist controllers, she thinks it's an abomination. They have a problem with Robert Downey Jr. and Ben Stiller's role because they joked about a black guy and a disabled guy, and a bunch of other scenes. But those scenes were what made the movie so funny, the absurdity of it. If you change those scenes, then you have an entirely different film. These woke communists are literally saying they wish the movie had never been made. They want to censor art that they have decided is wrongthink. Keep in mind that everyone at the Mary Sue thinks communism will work this time if they're in charge. They just need to kill 200 million wreckers of progress first. If you ask them for examples of politically correct comedy, they'll point you to Kathy Lee Gifford doing her Isis impression, or a lesbian doing stand-up in a San Francisco club where every joke is about dumb, white, cis, straight men. But isn't that racist and sexist? Well, yes, but the cultural Marxists said it was allowed because they aren't fully human and don't deserve equal rights. Better get on the trains and head to those happy camps. So think about what's going on here. This is a movie that people enjoyed only 10 years ago. Now it is verboten. They couldn't make this movie in 2020, mostly due to Trump derangement syndrome. This girl Weeks isn't actually upset about Tropic Thunder. She's upset, or pretending to be, because it gives her power. That's what all this fake outrage is about. It's just a way to gain power. And for a lot of these people, it's a way to stay in the herd, in the center of the herd. But Princess Weeks, please tell me that's not your real name. Miss Weeks, I hope I pronounced that right. Weeks or Wickes? She has black privilege. She's a black female, so she's never going to be called out for anything. So she doesn't need to stay in the center of the herd. She is the center of the herd. Well, actually, not so much anymore, because in terms of hierarchy, female black has slipped a couple rungs, because trans is right now, trans is neck and neck with Muslim. So they are the first and second position, and black female has dropped quite a bit. It's weird. Somehow Muslim and trans, somehow those are protected categories. Okay, well, what can I say about either one of those without getting kicked off? Probably not much. Okay, Doolittle didn't do well. I'm really surprised about that. because it's a kids movie, and usually kids movies should be slam dunks. And Robert Downey Jr. is a pretty fun actor. I won't make the mistake saying he's a good actor, because I don't recall seeing him in anything where he actually had to act other than just comedies. Tropic Thunder came out 2012, I think. Ben Stiller, Jack Black, Tom Cruise, Robert Downey Jr. Tom Cruise was in about a minute of it. They're dropped in the middle of the jungle after being divas and get caught in the middle of a major drug situation. Wow, you're a horrible writer. Downey plays Kirk Lazarus, a 5-time Oscar-winning Australian actor who gets pigmentation alteration to play a black soldier in the film, which means he went from Iron Man to blackface. Okay, was Iron Man 2008 and then Tropic Thunder 2012? Maybe. Right at the very beginning of his comeback. Yeah, I guess he had a substance abuse problem or something. I didn't really follow his career, and then he did Iron Man, and Iron Man 1 was one of my favorite Marvel films. Kind of a simple, silly film, but God, it was a good movie. The redemption story, he really knocked it out of the park. And I guess life imitated art for him. And I think that movie cost less. I think it was like only $150 million, or it was less than $200 million to film. Okay, anyway, which is not a whole lot of money. Anyway, so the point is he got to play a black actor. It wasn't in any way insulting. I would think the part about Ben Stiller playing the disabled guy would be much more insulting, because in terms of putting things on a hierarchy, I would never make fun of the disabled or children. Those would be the only two topics that would be off limits for me, because the disabled and children the mentally disabled, they're not in a position to rebut you. So it's not fair. But if you want to make fun of, do this kind of humor about different races or ethnicities or religions, that's fine, because they can rebut you. Anyway, it's not. The movie wasn't. I'm surprised that she's having a problem with the racist aspect, which wasn't racist, and she doesn't have a problem with the Ben Stiller portraying never go full disabled. That was the joke. Okay, so it was the part that helped him come back to Hollywood, but I would say Iron Man was a huge. Iron Man was the the nucleus, and this is just part of the further propagation of his return. Okay, she says, I have fond memories of Tropic Thunder. I saw it in New York with a mostly black audience with my mother and brother. I was also a teenager. Okay, well, you saw it as a teenager. You liked it. I mean, you weren't an idiot as a teenager. I don't find the use of blackface offensive, but I do understand why. Okay, so you don't have a problem with the movie at all. Okay, here's something that I thought it was kind of weird, and I hesitate to mention it because we're just in such weird times now. But regardless of the message of the film, it was a movie directed by Ben Stiller, written by 3 white guys, Justin Theroux, Ben Stiller, and Ethan Cohen. I don't know who Theroux is, or I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but Stiller and Cohen are Middle Eastern guys, they're Jewish guys, so they don't identify as white. So it's kind of a weird thing that she doesn't know that. I don't know if she knows that or not, but I don't know. The only actual black character is Al Pacino. He's not one of the most memorable characters of the movie. I remember his scenes. I remember that movie. I've seen that movie, Tropic Thunder, quite a few times. And I remember Al Pacino and Booty Sweat. Yes, he's one of the... Everyone in that movie is memorable. The movie was freaking hysterical. It is a movie you can go back and rewatch. It is very, very funny. If you don't have I don't know what it's on, Netflix or Amazon or Disney or whatever, you can go online and go find it somewhere. It's really funny. It's worth watching. The movie is deeply imperfect. Okay, here's the point. They literally want this movie to not have been made. This movie is, in terms of comedies, for that year, I'm sure is the #1 comedy for that year, at least in my opinion. For the decade, it's up there. And for comedies of all times, it's definitely up there. It's a very, very funny movie. And if these people had their druthers, the movie would not be made. Doesn't that start to scare any of you? Does anyone have a problem with that? Anyway, I want to get into Comicsgate in a minute, because some people raised some good points. People who, anyway, I'll get into it in a separate video. Like, comment, subscribe, guys. You want to send me art for the channel? I'd love to look at it. BiancaZombie602@gmail.com. I do have a couple new Twitter accounts, so I'll figure out which one I'm going to use. You can follow me on Twitter, because I did just lose the last account for speaking truth to power. All right, guys, I'll see y'all next episode.